Hello everyone, my name is Nielson. I will be talking to you today about number 2. Now I want each of you to imagine a technology that you use every day. Just think of something like your cell phone, computer, car, any sort of technology that you use on a daily basis. Now, how many of you thought of a toilet as the very first technology you use in the morning when you wake up? It's a wonderful piece of technology that I couldn't live without. However, when we think about spreading technology through the developing world, at least when I do, I normally don't think of toilets. I think of cell phones, the internet, and all sorts of other wonderful pieces of technology. Now, there's a little bit of a paradox in the way that technology is currently spreading throughout the world. And that paradox is that we are able to spread cell phones and computers more readily than we can spread toilets. Did you know that 1.2 billion people in the world don't have a sanitary place to go to the bathroom? This is a map of the world and where people don't have access to clean water. It's a very large problem. And numbers can only tell you so much. When you actually see the conditions that some of these people live in, it really makes you wonder, why can't we spread this technology? Why is it that we can get cell phones into more people's hands than toilets? And well, there's not really one single answer to that question. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to spread this technology. It's not an environmental or an economic or social problem only. It's all three of them combined. So when I joined Engineers Without Borders, I figured I would be working on the engineering side of things, specifically on that environmental aspect of how do we build toilets for places that are really dry. So I went down to Mexico as a freshman, and I met a wonderful community of 22 families. Now these people are smart, super hardworking, and for some reason they just don't have sanitation. This community, when we first arrived, had this for their bathroom. And some people didn't even have this. Some people just used their fields. So why on earth were these intelligent, hardworking people unable to build bathrooms, latrines of some sort? So when we looked at this problem as engineers, we put our heads to it and we're like, okay, it's a dry place. The ground is really hard. We couldn't even pound a piece of rebar in with a sledgehammer. So obviously that was the problem. That was why they couldn't have toilets. So we came up with a nice little solution called a dry latrine. Now, dry latrines are fantastic pieces of technology. Basically, you separate the human waste solids and liquids, and you compost the manure, and then that composted, stabilized human manure can be spread on fields. Now, when we arrived, there were already 2 families in the community constructing these dry latrines. So as engineers, we dutifully went to these families and instructed them on how to properly compost the manure so it would be safe. And we expected everything to be great until we arrived a year later to piles of crap. They hadn't done anything with this manure. They had just been stockpiling it. And we were wondering why on earth they hadn't done anything. We'd explained to them how it was safe. They had fields to spread it on. They'd stabilized it correctly, but they still had these piles of crap sitting around. And in contemplating this, we realized that we had failed to address 2 of these 3 main issues for sustainability, specifically the social side. We'd been telling them what to do, but we really hadn't educated them. So we decided it was time to get our hands dirty. And we went and found someone who had too much crap to deal with, and we offered to spread it on his field. And after a little convincing, he allowed the gringos to take his pile of crap and spread it on the field. We got most of the community out to watch us, and they began asking questions. So why are the gringos spreading this? Is it safe? How long do we have to wait until our manure can be spread? What types of plants can we use it on? What do we do with the liquid waste? And the very best question of all, when we arrived another year later, can I have one? They all loved it. After they learned how to use it, we got to work on that final circle on the economic side. We developed these concrete forms and more economical ways of manufacturing the toilets, so it was easier. We worked with the community members one-on-one. We worked with our NGO to make sure that they understood how the technology worked. And most importantly of all, when we were in the community, we were sure to hold several community meetings where we could educate everyone on how dry latrines worked and on sanitation in general. We went beyond just the dry latrines and we started talking about biosand filters and how they could properly clean their water. Now, the one big takeaway that I've learned from Engineers Without Borders is that you can't focus on just one small aspect of a problem in order to get it right. Whenever you're working with developing communities or any sort of large research project, you have to step back occasionally and look at the big picture. Thank you all.